It worked in mice. It worked in mice.
Welcome back to It Worked in Mice, the podcast where we look at the latest health headlines and I try to figure out if any of this stuff will ever actually help me. With me, as always, is the relentlessly optimistic Piper.
And with me is the perpetually skeptical Alex. It's a balance, people. So, what's first on our docket of scientific wonder today?
Let's start with a big one. Statins, the cholesterol-lowering drugs that it feels like half the population is on. There's a new massive review of studies out, and get this, it says most of the side effects people complain about aren't actually caused by the drugs.
Oh, that's incredible news. I know so many people who are hesitant to take them because they've heard horror stories about muscle pain or memory problems. This could be so reassuring.
Or, and hear me out, it's a great way to tell millions of people that their very real feeling side effects are all in their head. The study looked at 23 different trials, over 120,000 people. They found that things like memory issues, depression, sleep problems, even weight gain happened just as often in the people taking a placebo, a sugar pill.
That's the power of the nocebo effect, right? It's the evil twin of the placebo effect. If you're told a pill might cause headaches, you suddenly become hyper-aware of every tiny twinge in your head, and you're more likely to report a headache.
Exactly. You read the little paper insert that lists 400 possible side effects, and suddenly you've got all of them. The study is basically saying that for most of these issues, there's no statistical difference between the group taking the actual drug and the group taking nothing.
So, to be clear, they're not saying people aren't experiencing these symptoms. They're just saying the evidence doesn't point to the statin as the cause in most cases. The researchers are quoted as saying the benefits of preventing a heart attack or stroke for at-risk people greatly outweigh the risk of side effects. That's a powerful message.
I suppose. They did find a tiny increase in abnormal liver blood tests, like a 0.1% rise, but even that didn't lead to actual serious liver conditions, and there were some muscle symptom links, but again, very rare. So I guess my takeaway is, if you think your statin is making you forget where you put your keys, it's just as likely you are going to forget anyway. Comforting.
I see it as empowering. It helps separate the real, rare side effects from the background noise of just being a human. It allows for better conversations between patients and doctors. Knowledge is power, Alex.
Or knowledge is a massive study telling you to ignore your own body. Let's move on before I get a phantom headache. What's next on your list of miracles?
Okay, this one you might actually like because it involves a simple life hack, no pills required. A new study suggests that stopping eating 3 hours before you go to bed could significantly improve your heart health.
Stop eating 3 hours before bed? My grandfather called that not having a massive plate of spaghetti and meatballs at 10 p.m. Is this really groundbreaking research?
It's more nuanced than that. The study also had participants dim the lights for those 3 hours and extend their overnight fast by about 2 hours. And here's the key part. They did this without cutting calories. They ate the same amount of food, just in a more compressed window.
And let me guess, they all miraculously lost 20 pounds and could suddenly run a marathon.
Not quite, but they did see measurable improvements in blood pressure, heart rate, and blood sugar control. The researchers think it's all about timing. It's about aligning our eating schedule with our body's natural circadian rhythms. When you eat late, your body is trying to digest while it should be powering down for sleep, and it throws things out of whack.
So my body's internal clock doesn't appreciate me introducing a pizza to it at midnight. Shocking.
Think of it like a symphony orchestra. Your heart, your metabolism, your sleep cycle, they are all supposed to play in harmony. Late-night eating is like a rogue trumpet player blasting a solo during a quiet violin part. This study shows that by creating that quiet period before sleep, you let all the instruments get back in sync.
A rogue trumpet player. I like that. So the advice is basically eat dinner a bit earlier and then just stop. No sneaky bowls of cereal while watching TV. No, I'm just going to have one cookie that turns into the whole sleeve.
Exactly. And it's not about deprivation, it's about timing. One of the lead authors said it's not only how much and what you eat, but also when you eat relative to sleep that is important. For people at risk of cardiometabolic disease, which is a scary number of adults, this could be a really simple, free intervention.
Simple and free are my favorite words, but that 3-hour window, that requires actual discipline. What if I get hungry? Do I just stare at the dimmed lights and think about my improved blood pressure?
You could try drinking some herbal tea, or read a book, or, just go to bed a little earlier. The point is, it's a small change with potentially big payoffs for your heart.
Okay. I'm starting to get hungry just thinking about not eating. I think I need to go grab a preventative snack before you tell me I can't eat for the rest of the day. Be right back.
It worked in mice. Worked in mice. That sounds real nice.
Sounds real nice.
Will it work for you? Let's find out what's true. It worked in mice.
And he's back! Did you find a circadian rhythm-approved snack? Don't worry, I won't tell the researchers. So, ready to jump back in?
I'm fueled and ready to be cynical about another study. What do you have for me? Don't tell me it's about only eating between the hours of noon and 12:05 p.m.
No, this one is about what you eat, not just when. Researchers from Aarhus University found that people who followed the 2023 Nordic dietary guidelines had a 23% lower risk of death compared to those who didn't.
A Nordic diet. So I have to become a Viking? Am I just eating smoked fish and rye bread for the rest of my life? Because I don't think my cardiologist would approve of the pillaging part.
No pillaging required, and it's more varied than you think. The guidelines are actually pretty sensible. They encourage eating less meat and added sugar, and more whole grains, legumes, fish, and low-fat dairy. It's not that different from a Mediterranean diet, just tailored to foods more common in Nordic countries.
23% lower risk of death is a pretty big number. That's not nothing. What's the catch? Did they only study actual Vikings who were already incredibly healthy?
The study was huge, analyzing data from over 76,000 Swedish adults over a long period, and they accounted for other factors like education, income, and physical activity. The lower mortality rate held up. They even saw lower death rates specifically from cancer and cardiovascular disease.
So it's basically just eating real food. Less processed junk, more plants and fish. It's just been branded with a cool, minimalist Scandinavian name?
Exactly. But here's the part I really love. These guidelines were specifically designed not just for health, but also to reduce climate impact. So it's a diet that's good for you and good for the planet. They're calling it a model for other regional sustainable diets worldwide. How great is that?
Okay, that part is interesting. A 2-for-1 deal. You get to live longer and feel slightly less guilty about the planet burning. I can see the appeal. So I can still have my Swedish meatballs, right?
Probably in moderation. It's about the overall pattern, not one single food. Now for our last topic, we're going from diet to deep science, from the kitchen to the lab. Get ready for this one. Scientists are using AI to uncover the hidden genetic control centers driving Alzheimer's.
Oh boy, AI and Alzheimer's. This feels like the ultimate "it worked in mice" headline. A supercomputer is going to cure dementia, but the fix will be available in the year 1995 and will probably require you to upload your consciousness to the cloud.
Don't be so dismissive. This is legitimately groundbreaking. For years, scientists have known about genes linked to Alzheimer's, like APOE, but they didn't fully understand how they cause the disease. It's like knowing who the criminal masterminds are, but not knowing who they're talking to or what their orders are.
So what did the AI do? Did it watch a bunch of crime shows and solve the case?
Close. They created a machine learning platform called CygNet. It analyzed massive amounts of genetic data from brain samples and was able to create these incredibly detailed maps of how genes control one another inside different brain cells. It's moving beyond just seeing which genes are active at the same time, which is just correlation, to figuring out which genes are actually giving the orders. It's uncovering cause and effect.
And what did this all-powerful CygNet find?
It found that the most dramatic disruptions were happening in what are called excitatory neurons. Thousands of genetic interactions seem to get completely rewired as the disease progresses. By identifying the key genes that are driving these harmful changes, they have found a whole new set of potential targets for future treatments.
Potential targets for future treatments. The 6 most hopeful and simultaneously depressing words in medical research. It's amazing, truly, but it also feels so far away from being a real-world solution.
But it's a critical step. You can't develop a cure if you don't understand the fundamental cause. This is like finally getting the complete blueprints for the enemy's headquarters. It shifts the entire field from just observing the damage to understanding the chain of command that causes it. For the millions of people affected by this disease, that is a huge leap forward. It's a real reason for hope.
Hope. I guess that's your department. So, to recap today, my side effects are probably in my head. I need to stop eating 3 hours before bed. I should start eating like a Swede, and an AI is mapping my brain for a cure I might see in 50 years.
Or, to put it another way, we have better than ever evidence that a life-saving drug is incredibly safe. A simple, free habit can boost heart health, a planet-friendly diet can help you live longer, and we're getting closer than ever to unraveling one of the most devastating diseases of our time. I'd say that's a pretty good week for science.
I suppose so. But I'm still having that meatball. Just, before 7 p.m. Join us next time on It Worked in Mice.
Sounds real nice.
Will it work?